where are my keys? I mean, here's the thing. I bought a new car, and what good is my shiny, new, expensive car if I can't find my keys? Isn't that the same with your website? You spent a lot of money on your website, but if nobody can find it, what good is it? You see, SEO, your unique SEO, is the key for people finding your website. And today I have the most fabulous guest, Heather Lutzy, the author of many books, who's going to show you exactly how people can find your website. And here it is. Duh. She's written The Findability Formula, The Easy Non-Technical Approach to Search Engine Marketing, and Thumbnomics, The Essential Business Roadmap for Social Media and Mobile Marketing. And yet, wait for it, she has a new book, Market Espionage. She's now a search engine optimization expert and creator of the renowned Findability Formula, creating SEO buzz for all of her clients. Here she is. It's Heather Lutzy.
I'm thrilled to be here, and it's been such a pleasure working with you. We've had some really interesting discoveries.
Everybody thinks of SEO as boring. You know, it's like, oh, I got to hire someone to do it. Someone else do it. But here's what I found. I found that in looking what people are actually searching for and how you helped me find my unique phrase that people wanted to find, that they were actively looking for, helped increase my web traffic to my website. Is it like, do you have to be an expert to do this sort of thing?
You don't have to be an expert, but you do need to be a part of the process. And you need to understand the baloney from the good stuff. And there's a lot of misinformation on the internet. Historically, people who do SEO or search engine optimization, they use a lot of fancy words that are very impressive. Like conversion rates and heat maps and all these crazy words, keyword density and robots and spiders and oh my.
It sounds like kind of a cross, heat map and spiders between a porno movie and a horror film, doesn't it?
Not such a good porno, I can tell you that. But my whole thing is, you need to know enough to be a content generation machine. And you also need to be able to convey in easy terms to the person who manages your site technically. So there's three different things that Google looks at. I call it the EAT method, EAT, okay? So Google looks at expertise. How do you prove to me that you're indeed an expert in your industry? And then A is authoritativeness, meaning do people like it? Do they follow it? Do they subscribe it? Do they really hear your message, or is it just a bunch of hot air and no one's responding to it? And then finally, you have T, which is trustworthiness. So the trustworthiness comes in with how technically sound is your website? Do you have, how long have you owned your domain name? There's all these little factors, and we clearly don't have time to cover all those today, Judy, but I want to take them through just the part about how to take what they're already writing, blogs, websites, social media, and make them findable.
Fantastic. So take it away, Heather.
How do we take findability and start applying it right away? So I would suggest, if you are creating content, that you think about content marketing, which is the new buzzword now. Think of creating content that people want to read, that people are interested in, as opposed to just creative genius, where we wake up in the morning and we're like, I want to write an article on this, and it's going to be brilliant, it's going to change people's lives, and you hear crickets in the background after you launch your blog, because you never asked who cared. You cared deeply about it. But does anyone else think that way? And is that the way they'd search for it? And oftentimes you're just so close, but you just miss each other by a micro inch, just this little tiny bit, because you're not using the same language.
What you're saying here really applies to the Message of You formula, because as we start with, it's not about you, it's really about the audience.
Absolutely. And the more you can focus on that, the more successful your online marketing will be. We're going to talk about SEO writing and how do you implement this right away. And I don't want you to be intimidated by the word SEO. I like to call it findability. Okay, it's just about connecting with users in the way they want to be connected with. So let's talk a little bit about how Google works, because you really have to understand fundamentally how Google operates. So let's take a look. Is Google a robot? Is it a psychic? Is it a genius? It's a very confusing. So Google looks at all the websites that want to rank for a particular phrase. So Judy, give me a phrase that I can use throughout the rest of our conversation. So if you want to rank for a phrase, what would that phrase be for you?
I came across a phrase which was how to be funny, and found that a lot of people were searching for that and nobody was using it. Oops, I shouldn't talk about it here. Oh no.
Judy, it's only one keyword. So there's a wonderful tool called the AdWords Keyword Planner. Just put that into Google. There's also some other great sites I can send you as reference to, Judy, for them to go back in. But you cannot start writing without knowing what people want. And the first thing we have to think about is, how does Google, understanding Google. So let's just talk about that for a minute. So Larry Page and Sergey Brin, right? Super rich guys making, self-driving cars and doing whatever else they're doing. Well, let's take you back to the very beginning, because it's absolutely essential you understand, why does Google rank who they rank? And what makes them more important over somebody else? Well, they were Stanford research students. They were finishing up their doctoral thesis. Their professor encouraged them to build something that they were frustrated with and something that they were passionate about. And so they're like, you know what? We have all these Stanford professors and students creating content, and we don't have access to it. We have to wait years until it gets to the library. And they're like, that's crazy. What are we missing in this vacuum of content? So they created the Google database. It was just meant to index Stanford content. Well, as it grew and developed, they're like, well, we don't have to just do Stanford content. We can do everything on the internet. And so that's how the Google algorithm, which is a fancy word for why do they pick me, or why do they pick someone else to rank under a keyword versus my page? And you can manipulate that to a certain extent. So let's take a look at what that is. So search and index. So here's what I want you to think about. I want you to think about the Google index like the Dewey Decimal System. So what I want you to think about is your thought leadership, who you are as a thought leader. Where would I put you in the library? Would I put you in business? Would I put you in finance? Would I put you in? Because speaker is what you do. It is not the thought leadership that you represent. So I need you to think about that. That's a big differentiator. Where would I put you? There's no speaker department at the library. So you're going to have to figure out, as a thought leader, you're a thought leader on how to be funny, how to write a speech, right? I would put you probably in maybe the comedy section potentially, or in the business section, depending upon what you had written. So you have to think about, where would I be put in into the Google algorithm? Where is my thought leadership? And this is one page at a time, Judy. It's one web page at a time, one blog post at a time.
When I first wrote the Comedy Bible, which was a long time ago, it was put in the comedy section, but it really didn't fit in there because there were just books, mostly Dave Barry books, and commentary and funny books. And then it got put into theater arts section, like acting skills and things like that. So that's really interesting.
So what you're seeing in front of you is sort of a grid. It's a grid of a web page. It's a grid or a template for a blog. And this tells you all the different elements that Google is looking at as a term paper. Remember, we're students on the Stanford campus. We got to create content. We want an A+, right? I was always the one that was the brown noser. I sat in the front row. I always went to the student hours and hung out with coffee I worked the system tremendously. But if you want to get an A+ as a content matter expert at the Stanford campus, you got to write something. So what we're going to do is, what you're seeing in front of you is a template. So we start off with the domain name. The domain name is very important to your findability. The closer you can use the language of your searcher, the more findable you are. You'll see that we have the title, we have the headline. So if we write a term paper, of course we're going to have a title. And we're also going to have a headline that introduces us to the topic. You're going to write at least 300 words of body copy, whether it be a blog post or it be a page in your site, 300 words. And then you're going to have, of course, images because you want to get an A+, and you're going to have links. So, Judy, what do you think links are on a term paper?
References, or to footnotes, exactly. Or to the table of contents, or things like that? Perfect.
So you had to have a bibliography, right? You had to have a bibliography, and And you have to prove it. Otherwise, you're just a talker, right? You're not really walking your talk. So Google expects that you know other experts.
You're saying to actually link to their website.
As a validation of your own thought leadership.
Wow.
So that you say, well, I am the message of you expert. And Google's like, that's great to say it, but you got to prove it now, woman, right? You got to prove it. Who do you know? So you're going to link inside your body copy. You're going to say, well, I know Seth Rogen. I worked with Robin Williams.
And then I write TED Talks for people. And a woman who I wrote a TED Talk for, Dahlia Mogahead, she just got 5 million views on it and is like one of the best TED Talks. So I have found that since she's linked to me and I linked to her, it's really increased my findability.
What you're seeing on this template right now is all the elements I would include a keyword in. Let's take a look at what exactly that breaks down to. What you're seeing in front of you is all the elements. Remember, we're writing term papers here. We're writing expert content on the Stanford campus. So number one is the title. So think about it. I always think about it. Where's my book? Here's my book. So think about a website like a book or a blog like a book. So the title is the title or the cover of your book. Remember, where would I put it in the library? Where would I put it? Now, then if I open it up, I've got a headline. See, this says dedication. That's a headline. So I have to have a headline on my page. It's what grabs you and makes you want to read it. Now, the next part is the body copy. The body copy, look, this is a ridiculous. I thought that people would actually read 400 pages of social media advice. It was a good idea at the time, and the title is clearly not pronounceable. So lessons learned. Lessons learned. But look how cute my graphic is, right? I got sucked into my own word and then spent 2 years trying to optimize for it, right? When no one was searching for it. So you have the title, the headline, the body copy, which is the book you wrote something, the links, remember those links going back to the experts that you know. And finally, ever heard of Google Images? Images.google.com. If you haven't been there, you might want to check that out. Google yourself, Google how to be funny, and see what comes up there. So when you have images on your website, make sure you name it, whatever keyword you want that image to rank under. So here you'll see that I'm showing you elements Google cares about. You'll see on this page, you'll see the titles at the very top that shows up in the tabs. You have a nice big juicy headline, like the headline of a newspaper. Then you've written something, right? You have to be a thought leader. You have to write at least 300 words. You'll see then we have links on the side. So links can be the navigation on your website. It can be the side navigation, or it could be links inside the body copy. And then finally, you have images or video. So we're going to name them howtobefunny.jpg, howtobefunny.mov, so that those two things. So what happens is Google comes to your new page and says, oh, goody, new content. I'm so excited. And it takes the images and puts it into Google Images. It takes all the content and says, what's it about? And throws it into their index.
When I see things show up on Google Images, they have a little description. So where are they grabbing the description of the image from?
The description is in the alt text. So it's ALT or alternative text. And that's where you can put a short description of what they're seeing. Howtobefunny.jpg. And you're placing it on the How to Be Funny optimized page. Mm-hmm. So the keyword is in the title, the headline, sprinkled throughout the body. I've got some links in there, and I've also got my images. And the image is going to be howtobefunny.jpg. And this guide in front of you right now, you'll be able to follow this, and I'm going to give you a template as well that you can use to start creating content that's findably connected. So let's go to, why does Google work and how can I start adjusting my content? So I'm going to walk you through a very simple exercise that you can go back and apply to your pages on your website or your blogs. I don't want you to panic. Everyone stay calm. I'm going to give you a very easy process, because people thought, like right now their heads start to like get a little big and they're like, oh my God, why didn't someone tell me this before?
That's why
they're telling you now.
That's why a consult with you is better than Xanax. Because you don't have the after effects are positive with you. You have more people coming to your website without the drug hangover.
Well, I always think about it, if you're not in a state of sort of anxiousness, you're not learning. That's a good feeling.
Oh, I'm learning so much now, Heather.
Right? I want you to change your dialogue. I'm so overwhelmed to I'm so interested. Okay, so
Excellent.
Let's just keep that frame of reference. So what you're seeing here is we are all dog groomers. I'm going to take you through a very simple example. I want to rank for a keyword that I have researched. So I've done my research, I've used the Google keyword tool, and I've come up with dog groomer Denver. Okay, I'm going to rank for that phrase. It gets 590 searches a month, which is absolutely perfect for me. So the next slide is going to show our keyword focus.
Is there a number that's too small to bother?
I would say it depends on your priorities. So I always say, under 250 searches a month is going to be a blog post. Okay. Anything over 250 is probably going to be a page on your website. Okay, so let's move on and let's talk about how the heck do we rank for Dog Groomer Denver. So I like to call this the mullet approach. So remember, we have THBLI. So we need to find a title now. We're starting with a title. So what I want you to think about is the 80s mullets, okay? Business in the front, party in the back. So when you're thinking about creating this page or this blog post, you want to think about what's the title of this particular page. Now remember, the title shows up in the top tabs. So you'll see the tabs in Chrome and Internet Explorer and Firefox. They all have tabs at the top. So what we're going to do is the mullet approach is Dog Groomer Denver, :pipe. Remember, got to get that keyword first. That's the business in the front. Then the party in the back is grooming for your canine friend. So you're trying to balance the keyword that gets the search volume with something that's creative and spicy. And maybe grooming for your canine friend is not very spicy, but it's cute. And a lot of people get caught up in cute as opposed to findable. So I'm saying you don't have to sacrifice one for the other. Use the mullet approach so that you can get your good title. Now let's talk about the headline. So the headline is, if you have a geek in your life, it's the H1 tag or the header tag. Okay, it's the headline of your term paper. You guys getting it now? It's a term paper. So we've done our title. Now we're doing our headline. So what you're seeing here is how to write the headline. So finally, a dog groomer in Denver your canine will love. I have the dog groomer in there, and I've also included Denver. And this is an H1 tag that would be right at the top of your web page so that it really announces what the content is underneath it. Now let's talk about body copy. Remember, you're not a Stanford student until you write something. So write this down, 300 words of body copy for anything you create on the internet outside of social media. So I want you to think of blogs and white papers and downloads, and all of that can be specifically used around body copy. So you may be wondering what dog groomers to request at your Denver pet shop this year, okay? So 300 words of body copy, and I like to think of it, Judy, like a chocolate chip cookie. If I pour the whole bag in, it's going to be like this gooey mess, which actually sounds quite good now because I haven't had lunch. But if you really want to have a good cookie, you want to sprinkle the chocolate chips. So I want you to think about a keyword. You're going to sprinkle them throughout the body. It's going to be at the top, the middle, and the bottom. Okay, that's where you want to place your keywords.
So how many times would you use your keywords? And did you say how many, what's the count in the body?
300 words of body
300
copy.
words of body copy. And how many times would you use without being like, this is ridiculous?
So you're thinking about a top-down strategy, okay? So the first trick I have for you is keyword in the first sentence of the first paragraph, keyword in the last sentence of the last paragraph. Okay, so it's a sandwich, right? These are the two bread pieces. We have the keyword of the first sentence, keyword in the last sentence of the last paragraph. Now what you're going to do is you're just going to sprinkle it organically, just as if you were talking about it with a conversation. It will continue to keep coming back up. You don't want to spam it. If you say, well, if I got 10 here, then 50 is going to be amazing. No. You get in trouble for that. That's something called keyword spamming, and Google knows about that, and that's just not going to work anymore. So what you want to think about is just putting it organically and making sure that you're using it throughout the body copy.
And it doesn't have to be dog groomer Denver, the phrase throughout, just components of it sprinkled throughout the sandwich. Okay.
I would suggest you use dog groomer Denver together, dog groomer Denver split up. Just make sure that whatever content you're writing is staying focused on that. I'm not talking about food. I'm not talking about cages. I'm not talking about beds. You're staying focused on what that page is about. Now, number 2 way people use Google is Google Images. Everyone loves pretty pictures. So what I suggest you do is Google Dog Groomer Denver. See all the images that come up there. They come up there because they're not named 324_302.jpg, which is probably what your web designer named them. But we're going to name them for findability. So we're going to take that adorable picture of the puppy in the bathtub, and say dog groomer services denver.jpg. So now what we've done is, think about it as a checklist. We have the keyword in the title, check. We have the keyword in the headline, check. We have the keyword sprinkled throughout the body copy, check. We have our links, check. And then finally we have our images or video. Those are named the keyword that we want to be findable for. So this is my gift to you. And Judy, I will send you my handout that has this particular THBLI template. And this is something that will walk you through the steps. And before you start to write anything, a blog post, a page on your website, figure out what my keyword focus is, do your keyword research, then fill in the title, headline, and a little bit of the body, and then start to write from that. So you have a good focus, you have a target. So by using this template, you're going to be able to stay focused on creating content, not only that's socially sourced, you know that people want this, and as an expert, you're showing up for them in their way, and then you're sort of evangelizing what you think about that concept. So it's very important that you stay connected with what people want. So I have a little trick here that people that are listening to this video can do. So let's just say you have your whole blog post written. What I want you to do is I want you to copy all the text. I think it's Command or Control C. We'll copy everything, okay? Now what I want you to do is go to any word cloud tool. One of my favorite word cloud tools is worditout.com, Worditout or wordle.net. There's a lot of different word cloud tools. Copy all the body copy into this tool and hit run. What it looks like is you're going to see this kind of cluster of keywords. Now, the biggest keyword on that cluster is how many times it was used. So if you run this little test, you'll see whether you've optimized it for the right keyword in the way Google perceives it. So the biggest phrase on that word cloud should be Denver dog groomer or how to be funny or whatever keyword you're optimizing for. Super simple, and just stay focused on, I got to keep adjusting my content to make sure it's findable, or you're speaking to crickets. No one cares.
Heather, this is blow my mind fantastic, because now it shows we have a message that we want to give out to the world, and we have a great speech, and we want to make money. So the first thing is to get people to find us. And you've given such great tools. Heather has an incredible formula where she can simplify that you can do it. I worked with her, and as I said, it was such a great use of my money. And if you want to further dig into this, and after you look at her books, which are amazing, and she also has some findability self-study with what would Google do in the Plex and her own books, and you still need some help, work with Heather. She's highly recommended by me. Thank you again so much, Heather, for helping the students in the Message of You University.